I finally got my hands on a 15-inch new Surface Book 2, which I'm excited about. Now, I've always kind of been a fan of the Surface lineup, the Surface Book, and frankly just like what Microsoft is doing with their hardware lately. But I've never pulled the trigger on any of them for the simple fact that none of them have had a graphics card that is powerful enough to allow me to edit my footage. But now, thanks to the 15-inch model having an NVIDIA GTX 1060 in it, I can finally give it a try. So, in this video I'm going to do a complete walkthrough. If you're not familiar with my complete walkthroughs, they're basically me showing you every single feature that the device can do and things that it can't do, so that you, if you were looking to buy one, are fully informed before you go do so. So first up, let's start with the hardware. It's made out of this magnesium that is lightweight and resembles metal, even if when you tap it, it kind of feels like plastic. Regardless, it's minimalistic and looks pretty good in my opinion. But what makes it so unique on the market is the fact that it has a screen that houses the CPU and a base that houses the GPU and an extra battery that can be disconnected by pushing a button, turning the screen into a large tablet. Now it can even be reconnected backwards to the base for some other form factors. I've particularly found that using the pen, which is sold separately for $100 by the way, when it's connected in this reverse format and is laid flat, allows me to use things like Lightroom to edit photos, but still utilize the GPU in the base for the added performance. The screen itself is a 15-inch 3:2 aspect ratio touchscreen with a 3240 by 2160 resolution on this model, but there's also a 13.5-inch version that has a 3200 by 2000 resolution. Now, if you go for the 15-inch model, you get a set processor, RAM, and GPU, namely the Intel 8th Gen i7-8650U quad-core, 16 gigs of 1866 MHz DDR3 RAM, and the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060. The 13.5-inch model, on the other hand, has a choice between the 7th Gen Intel i5-7300U or the same 8th Gen i7-8650U for the processor, 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, Intel HD 620 GPU on the i5 model, or the NVIDIA GTX 1050 GPU on the i7 model. And both have storage options of either 256, 512 gigs, or 1 terabyte. Now, as far as ports go, we have two USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports and an SD card slot on one side, and the magnetic proprietary power port and a USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type C port with USB power delivery on the other. We also have a 3.5mm headphone jack in the very odd placement that is the top right of the screen. Now for cameras, we have a 5-megapixel 1080p video front-facing camera and an 8-megapixel 1080p rear-facing camera. Under that screen, we have Dolby stereo speakers hidden in the grille, as well as dual microphones. Software-wise, it's running Windows 10, so it's going to be your normal affair there. But what I really want to know is how it stacks up against my current laptop, which is the last previous model of the Razer Blade, which has a 7th Gen i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and the same NVIDIA GTX 1060. Now, as I mentioned, I edit a lot on my laptop, so the GTX 1060, that graphics card, was really important to me because I use Premiere and it has CUDA cores and all that fun stuff. So the first test I'd like to do is take the exact same footage of this 4.6K and 4K cameras that I have and make the same video on both of these and then render them both at the same time and see how that goes. And that was a little surprising actually, maybe because on paper, the Surface Book has a better processor and the same everything else, so it should theoretically do better, right? But it's actually about 25% slower than my Razer Blade, which is not a terrible amount, but weird, right? When I asked Microsoft's reps about this, they gave me the explanation that the processors on the Surface Book 2 are at a lower voltage, and so that had something to do with it. Either way, that's kind of just what happened. And by the way, this was me actually turning on best performance settings on the Surface Book. If I left it on recommended, which it normally is on, it actually would have taken a lot longer to do this as well. And now finally, the big problem that I have with the Razer Blade is that the battery dies so fast. So I either bring like a different laptop if I'm gonna go to a cafe and write for a long time, or go somewhere and write for a long time, compared to if I know I'm gonna be editing. I can't use that same computer with the good battery life to edit, and I can't use the editing computer for good battery life. So the Surface Book to me was a nice balance between those two. So Let's see if that's actually true, and do a battery test between those two computers and have them both run the same YouTube video with screen brightness set all the way up and see which one dies first. And dead. Yeah. Now, I normally leave my opinion out of these types of videos, but I just want to say that, like, with this much more battery life, honestly, in my opinion, I would gladly take the 25% slower render times. And finally, the price starts at $14.99 for the i5 13.5-inch model and goes up to $32.99 for the 1TB 15-inch i7 model, which is the one that I have here, putting it on par at least with gaming laptops with similar specs, like the Blade, for example. There you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed this complete walkthrough with a little bit of opinion sprinkled on at the end. Sorry. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below of this type of video, of the laptop, of anything you feel like. Just let me know. I'd like to hear from you guys. If you did like this video, though, please thumbs up or share. It's greatly appreciated. If you liked it a lot, please subscribe. That's also greatly appreciated. As always, though, regardless, thanks for watching.